to Legal Affairs and You at 8:30 this evening. The international airport and the new economy is the focus. Minister for National Security and Legal Affairs Rayburn Blackmoore will speak to Sobers Esprit, an expert in tourism and cultural industries. Find out more about the contribution to the economic diversification efforts, mainly in the creative sector, tourism development and investment promotion. The program will be live on radio, Facebook, YouTube and Digital Channel 50. Legal Affairs and You. Join us.
Good evening. So nice to have a great Dominican again, Jean Maho, in the house tonight to discuss another aspect of the international airport that is fastly progressing, notwithstanding some of the loud noises that we're hearing. And it's important that we prepare for the inevitable. And by that I mean the actual completion of this very important project, which is of course going to ensure global connectivity for us in Dominica and a major catalyst to the economy to drive our social and economic prosperity. Something, of course, as I've said, I want to reiterate for emphasis, we are at the dawn of a new day, Sobi. And before we move into this topic, one of the things I've never done with you, Sobers, is to ask you, and before you reintroduce yourself, because I'm not sure whether that is necessary, because you, by now, I can say, without any degree of reservation, you are endlessly a household name in Dominica. You have done so much, still looking young, and you continue to make your contribution insofar as ensuring that the people are actually informed. In all the areas you have been involved, you have been at the forefront of public education. And something that is lacking in our society today, what I've found, what I've seen, is that people who ought to be the voices of reason somehow get themselves entangled with politics, and as a consequence, they are compromised. And so, before we move into actually looking at the airport, which will give rise to a new economy, well, we have dissected that topic, and we are going to look at a number of areas. But suppose I want to ask you before, as a Dominican, how do you see the international airport? How do you feel about the international airport after so long waiting and to see this project is unfolding in the speed in which it is? How does that make you feel?
Yeah. First of all, good night to you again, bro. And it's nice to be with you for another program. Interestingly, this week I was part of.
Can you just start all over?
Okay. I just want to say thanks and for having me again for this program tonight. Really interesting times in Dominica, the Caribbean, and what happening globally. Lots of things are happening. As we know, we are faced with some geopolitical situation that have rocked the world, and clearly it's something that we have to be concerned about. But I think right here at home, some interesting things are happening, and we have to be thankful for these developments taking place in the country. So I remember last time we were speaking, we highlighted the fact that for any nation to progress, there has to be some, real important prerequisite for development, yeah? And you are a student of development, you're a development studies expert, I know,
You can say.
So we talk about the Maslow, the stages of development, yeah?
Right.
From one stage to the next and so on. So we move from very primitive stage to, the period of domination or slavery, the colonial period, the early period of post-colonial development in Dominica, post-independence. We are we're less than 50 years as an independent nation, and so we can measure development in a number of ways. Yeah, for these various phases. I grew up in the 60s and 70s, where we had a country that was really impoverished, we can say, through a long period of domination, colonial and otherwise. And for us, particularly for rural folks, for village folks, we suffered the consequences of underdevelopment. Yeah?
Yeah.
So lack of pipe-borne water, electricity, poor health care, education was limited, housing very, very substandard, and so on and so forth. And so the country made a determination, particularly in the pre-independence period, that we wanted to uplift ourselves, wanted to raise standards and make Dominica a more vibrant society, to move away from the colonial age, from the old age, and into a new era. And so over the last 50 years, we have seen some remarkable level of progress. That doesn't mean to say that a lot of things still needs to be done here. So there are lots of things that we still have to do. So we have seen housing development over those 50 years, various housing estates and housing developments taking place in different parts of the country. Kenfield, Goodwill, Stock Farm, Bath Estate, and so on. So we have seen many housing development programs, because prior to that, what we had was the concept of the Bucham, the one-room phenomenon, 1 or 2 rooms where extended families live together. And so this is one of the things that we have seen. We have moved forward, with resolve to addressing that. And so various governments over the last 50 years have made a contribution in that respect. We see the development of pipe-borne water. I mean, you're from my home, and we used to go and fetch water from the rivers.
Yeah.
And for bathing, for cooking, and so on. And we have come a long way. So throughout the country, I think the entire country is now, we have fibered water throughout Dominica.
With the exception of maybe formal and
maybe 1 or 2 small hamlets.
Informal, really.
Yes, communities.
Communities, basically.
And same thing with rural electrification.
Yeah.
I mean, that was probably, one of the biggest development to have taken place over the last several years. And it ended really with the contribution of the Freedom Party under Eugene Charles, with the massive rural electrification program. So which saw the electrification of the entire country, not just Roseau and the Barons. And similarly, if infrastructure, road infrastructure in particular, there was a time when you couldn't move from Portsmouth to Roseau. You had to sail, take boats and so on. Similarly, from the eastern part of the island, you're limited in terms of how far you could traverse. People had to do what they call Chimay-Létan, the Lake Road, to come from what was then Auvin. Yeah, Chimay-Rivé-Auvin. Yeah. When the road finally reached the eastern part of the island. And similarly, we see developments in other infrastructure like ports under the Patrick John government. In the 70s, we built a modern port facility that allowed ships to come right there and dock, deliver cargo, and so on. More recently, the cruise ship berth in Roseau, in Portsmouth, but not so much. Well, Portsmouth not been utilized so much, but Roseau definitely, and created, a huge demand now for Dominica in terms of cruise development, as well as ferry service from Martinique and Guadeloupe. Airport facility, that is probably the area where we have lagged behind in terms of the region and globally. Yeah, whereas almost all the countries in CARICOM, all independent countries in the CARICOM region would have some form of international airport. That is to say that facilities allow for straight flights from major source markets, major areas like the United States, Europe, and so on, to come directly and land in the country. Dominica has had to use a hub system for the last 50 years or so since we built the airport at Melvin Hall. So that was an area where we really needed to have some massive investment. And over the last 50 years or so, various governments have tried in various ways to, in fact, bring about the international airport. So I say all of that to say that what we see is development taking place in phases, in stages, but there are some important prerequisites, particularly now that we want to broaden the economy, because hitherto Dominica depended on what they call on commodities, export of commodities. It was vanilla, it was coffee, it was citrus, bananas, and ground provisions and so on. That's what we exported those. And typically we would use ships from the UK, more recently small boats coming from Portsmouth or Roseau to the neighboring islands and so on. But we have to move further than that. We have to move beyond that. And so an international airport has become a key necessity, a key imperative for the kind of society and kind of country that we want to build. If we're talking about building tourism, which is in fact one of the main pillars of the economy, it means therefore that we have to allow for ease of access into the destination. Because the truth is that travelers really don't like to have several stops on their way from the destination. They just want to travel directly. I mean, you and I know that.
Yeah.
When we leave here, we go to the United States, we just want to just jump on the plane and get to where we want to go without hassle and so on. So that has become an imperative for us, and it has become an imperative for all the countries of the Caribbean. Let's be real. St. Vincent probably is the country that was closest to us in terms of development of tourism, and that has since developed its great international airport. Now, so I think now is the time for Dominica, and I think this is a welcome development to boost tourism arrivals. But the airport will do more than tourism. It will allow for the access for business people, for students, for entrepreneurs, for people looking to do investment in the country in various sectors of the economy. We can use it as a hub, and things like that.
Having said that, if I were to just intervene a bit, although the night is yours, let us, for example, maybe we want to place emphasis on some critical areas, and for example, we have been talking over the years about diversification, and how do you see the airport, therefore, contributing towards economic diversification? And you may want to look at the various areas of such diversification that we're talking about, because I know that we have a tight schedule. Yeah.
So the airport is not an end in itself. It's a means to an end, and so we have to focus on the critical areas that we want to diversify away from. So here's the thing. As I said earlier, the economy, the 20th century economy that Dominica and Caribbean countries like us, particularly countries of the global south, really depended on the production and export of commodities, mainly in agriculture, and in some instances, oil and gas, mining, and so on. Places like Trinidad, you see more mining, Guyana, and so on, Jamaica, bauxite, and so on. So whilst those areas still remain important part of these economies, what we're seeing is that the global economy is shifting more towards services. So it's knowledge, it's experience, it's technology. Yeah. So as I say, these are important areas now for us to consider as we look to reposition the economy and to create opportunities particularly for young people, as we see the society, we're trying to build and to grow a middle class in the country, and so it's important for us to create opportunities for us to retain the knowledge that we develop, because we spend hundreds of millions of dollars educating our young people from kindergarten now to tertiary education, because we have a state college and the number of students we have going to university. So here's the thing. The economy is, as I say, one is we're still going to depend on some of the traditional sectors. So agriculture, for example. I think the country, Dominica, it will always be agriculture. We'll always have a strong agricultural economy because we have the land, we have the water, the soil that is rich and so on. And we can, in fact, grow a variety of crops. However, we have to relook what it is that we can do now, because the reality is there are challenges for us in the agriculture sector in the global market. One, in terms of commodity prices. Two, in terms of we see tariffs and other things that impose on us, what happened to our industry and so on. So it means that we're less competitive in some of those areas. So we have to go into new areas where we can in fact have some comparative or even competitive advantage. So it high yielding fruits and vegetables, for example. Soursop is a big fruit now. Everything about soursop. It's good antioxidant, all that. It's good for cancer, and so that is a fruit that we should go after, in a big way and grow and so on. And so we have to look at those niche areas in agriculture where we can in fact generate greatest yield and so on. Clearly, there are demands for Dominican agricultural produce, particularly in the Caribbean and in small markets in the diaspora, Dominican diaspora, in the United States, in the UK, Canada, and so on. That we can still continue to do. But I think the focus has to be on areas where we have some comparative advantage, where we can see some higher yields. That's one. That is in terms of the crops. But we have we have the sea, what they call the blue economy. If a large amount of untapped resources. So it's not just for fishing. It is for marine activities, for research and development, for harvesting certain crops, marine-related crops like sea moss and those things. So there are lots of things, and of course, greater investment in the fishing sector will in fact bring more for us. So we see now more investment in type of equipment that we use. The guys are staying longer when they go out at sea and so on. So we're seeing an acceleration in that part of the economy, into what we call the blue economy, so the fishing and marine economy. So those areas will remain key for Dominica. We have to continue in those areers.
As we talk about the blue economy and, of course, on the whole issue of access and people wanting to come, we address, of course, establish pass laws to ensure that we have this sanctuary and a reserve for whales watching this.
Yes, sure.
And then, so the direct flights, people in the European space.
So you see, they're all tied up.
Right.
So some of it is tied up with tourism, some of it is tied directly with agriculture. So as I say, so in the marine sector, so as I say, we have fishing, we have research and development, we can produce, looking at harvesting sea moss and other plants, and of course, on the tourism side, Dominica has just declared a whale sanctuary, first of its kind in the world, and so on, where we have a big advantage to get people to come and watch our sperm whales, because we are one of the few countries in the world with resident sperm whales. So that is for us a major attraction. Our diving is top class, and there is a big demand for our diving. But the reality is, for all of these things to happen, we have to get people to come here. We have to create the conditions. So it is about access, easy access. And that has been one of the troublesome point for us for many years. That will allow our divers from the west coast of the United States and other parts of the world to be able to come in much, much easier, to come and experience what we have as a dive destination, as a whale watching destination, and of course to do generally marine type activities. So I say, so the blue economy, the blue and the green economy, critical. We will continue to do that because we are largely rural. We have a country that is rich in terms of its soil and so on. So that is agriculture and things like hydroponics and these areas that we can in fact exploit some more. But we're going to need some more investment, more expertise in these areas. So research and development, getting extension people, people to lead in those areas. We need to have to provide support for farmers and fisher folks and those engaged in those sectors. So we have to look at what kind of incentives that we can give to them so that they can produce more and earn more for the country. And so, as I say, so that ties in really well with the investment in airports, in seaports, because also the seaport development is also going to be critical in moving forward as well. So I just talk about some of the on the commodity side, but another key part on the commodity side is the agro-processing, what they call value added. That is a big area that we really just touching the surface. We really can do much more in terms of value added. So we're talking about agro-processing and light manufacturing.
And then to put it in proper perspective, therefore, the international airport will be better positioned Dominica in that area, in those areas that we're just referencing going forward. Okay,
yes.
fine.
Yeah. So that these are some of the areas on what they call on the commodity side and the goods side. Okay. Now on the service side, which is the new economy. Okay. Globally, the world economy has shifted more towards knowledge, towards experience, towards digital technology. Even the bigger countries that used to be major producers of agriculture and other commodities like China, the United States, and so we're seeing less and less in terms of production. We're seeing they're investing more in terms of technology. You see, this kind of spend that they're investing in AI now in the United States and in China. China is now a major power in terms of technology, and that is what driving the economy and making them much more competitive globally now. For us in the Caribbean, tourism have to be a major part of the economy because we just naturally fit. We provide a wide range of experiences that people all over the world really want. So there's a big demand for what we have. So Dominica, for example, is about our nature. It's about this immersive type of activities that we have. It's about our culture, the vibrant culture. People want to experience that, whether it be a festival, whether it be some rituals, from village feasts. You see those reunions. You see people coming back home and getting involved in activities. So tourism and the experience and coming to experience what it is that we have is going to be a critical part of this economy. And in fact, that's what drives this economy at this time. I don't know if you know, last year we in fact generated well over $300-something million into this economy from the tourism sector. And so what we want to do is to double that. We want to double that. And the way we can double that is, one, as I say, clearly we need to see better access into the destination. So we started, the airport is one part. We have been attracting more airlines. We had American Airlines coming in. United has come in, and we have airlines coming through from the Virgin Islands and so on. So that is going to be a key part of what we do. We are seeing the acceleration of hotel rooms, the number of hotel rooms in the country, with addition of some really impressive properties. Recently, we just saw the opening of the Ocean Oasis on the Roseau stretch. We have Sunset Bay, Jungle Bay, Intercontinental, and a number of other properties all around the country. But we have to see, we need to invest more. People say, oh, they have all these hotel rooms. No. If we want to see this tourism economy grow from both in terms of numbers and in terms of spend, because really tourism is not, in today's world, we don't measure tourist impact just by the number of people who come. We measure it by the amount of money people spend.
I think that point there should not be taken lightly, because by way of example, you might find that somebody who is coming, let us say for a week for Carnival, if you were to compare that person with, let's say, a Dominican living in Dominica, that person most likely will spend more money. Yeah. In that week period of time.
I think the World Bank is estimating, a typical visit to be well over $3,000 per visit, and so we're talking about some serious numbers. That's
Yeah.
why we see the numbers really well over $300 million into this economy.
And
But we want to see it grow. We want to see it grow more. Though.
Yeah. So
So
the point I'm getting at, and I think you're making a very strong point. Not to say that I've not been making a lot of strong points, but it's the issue of the impact of the transient visitor to the economy, and that is what the airport, if just to get your confirmation on that, will actually facilitate and ensuring good access, and will ensure that more people come to enjoy what we have to offer.
Well, already we're seeing the numbers, the tourism numbers are growing.
Yes.
And we expect by next year the numbers, we end up about 93,000 visitors per year. We expect the numbers to be well over 100 and something by 2027. And our real expectation is to see the numbers grow to about 225, 250 in the next 5 years. That is the projection. But for us to do that, a number of things have to be put in place. So one is the airport, two is creating creating opportunities for people to come and spend more money into the country by the enhancement of the product itself. So we have things like our hiking, which is very important for us in Dominica, because the hike is not just to discover Dominica's unique natural features, but it also connects with the community, highlights the cultural heritage and history. By the way, the Dominica Hotel and Tourism Association is actually doing Hike Fest in May, and it's an opportunity for visitors to come and experience the hiking. There'll be hiking opportunities every Saturday in the month of May. So things like hiking and tours are really going to be important in moving forward into this period. We talk about the whale watching and things like that. Festival tourism is an important part, because festival is not just fete, by the way. People think that festival is fete. Festival is not fete. Festival is really a reclamation of who we are, of really reinforcing the richness of the culture, the vibrancy of the people. Because when people come to Dominica, they get crazy about the warmth of the people, the hospitality that it gets. They see children and young people immersed into the culture. That is what drives people when they come to Dominica for festival. And of course, our food, the cuisine, but we can do much more on that front. So there are a number of things that we have to do to, in fact, see the spending go up. So we want to see not just $400 million, but we want to see maybe close to $1 billion in the next 5 years. That is the intention. But as I say, there are a number of things that we have to do. So the infrastructure is key. Improving the product is another part. Getting communities involved. So we need to mobilize our communities, what we call community-based tourism. So let's see how we can incentivize communities, get them to do activities, packaging tours and events and so on.
Yeah.
So these are really going to be critical going forward. And of course, the linkage between tourism and agriculture, tourism, entertainment, tourism, and other parts of the economy going to be more and more important for us.
Yeah, excellent. What are the other possibilities that the international airport will actually?
Well, the other
create
possibility right before us now.
Yeah.
The government just announced the testing of the geothermal plants.
Precisely.
A couple of days ago.
Yes, and I think, and then I think they all tie into each other. And,
so here's the thing.
Yeah.
Geothermal is not just about providing electricity. People
I
think
know.
that it's just providing electricity. It's much more than that.
Yes.
It's about creating. There are opportunities, what we call upstream and downstream, that we can take advantage of. I hear already. I see Mr. Badwell was talking about doing some things with some ships that was for fuel for the shipping, the maritime sector. I hear people already. Today I was on a chat with some guys, and I was reading that guys are already talking about looking at opportunities for creating things. So we have to explore now opportunities within the energy sector that we can take advantage of. Because that is what's going to make geothermal important. Yes, reduction in electricity bill is going to be important, but I think more and more we have to explore ways in which we can utilize that resource even more, creating new industry, new products, byproducts from geothermal development that will create opportunities for us, so create jobs. So our scientists, particularly engineers and people in those areas, can in fact benefit from those areas. So
I think I just listening to you there. What comes to my mind in terms of tying it into with the international airport. Yeah, we have greater access to Dominica, and then we have a geothermal, and then you may have industries that are energy intensive.
yes,
And that may want to say, now we have easy access, and then we also have an opportunity where we can invest.
yes.
So
So that has to be one of the key selling points for Dominica. So we involve in investment promotion for the country. Must sell that concept that we now, like Trinidad is to talk about cheap electricity rates and cheap energy rates. We can begin to talk about that. We should be able to sell that as an attraction for investment into the country in whatever sector that people want looking for to invest their monies. So clearly energy cost is going to be an attraction for us getting investment into the country. But I think beyond that, it is going to be about doing more research and development work in terms of where are the opportunities, so that our own investment community can in fact look at opportunities there as well. Our scientists can look at opportunities within that sector, because more and more the world looking at renewables, they were looking at green industries, and I think that is where the whole issue about STEM, science, technology, engineering and maths comes in. So if we're going to invest in sending young people to train, these are the areas that they're going to have to look at for opportunities down the road.
Okay, so in my mind there, with all this discussion going on, and that a major project is unfolding, is manifesting, and it seems to me that we have to be in a national discourse there. Not only a national discourse for the purpose of it, but within our psyches, preparing for the international airport, building around it, and looking at the opportunities that are there to be exploited. And one of the areas maybe, or we want to look at, that will create endless possibilities with the international airport upon its completion. You can't wait when it is completed to start planning and getting involved in the process.
Planning should have happened.
And also, the people in the private sector have a seat as an opportunity also. Now, because government is making a major investment there. Now, the creative sector, I know that is something that is dear to you, to your heart. How do you see the international airport, therefore, creating an environment for that sector?
Well, clearly, the first area is festival tourism, is events and festival, sports tourism. You know, we used to have problems to bring in major test teams or international teams to Dominica. Of course, we have gotten over that gradually, but I think it will be a lot easier to attract some of the big test playing nations now. I don't think England hasn't been here, because England travels with thousands of players, fans, and family. So we can make a pitch down the road to get England to come to Dominica for a test match one of these days. I would love to see that happen. So sports tourism clearly it's one of the areas, and not just cricket. We have other sports. We have there's an investment the government I know is talking about a track. Laying a track in Point Rung. And so if we get that soon, I think that is something that we can, in fact, attract track athletes, both for training, for competitions like Grenada, for example. every other year, Grenada is now doing Carry Festa games. And although it's young people, but you know what? They bring people, beds and bodies in the beds, you know. So sports tourism is clearly one of the big areas that we should focus attention on.
If I may, though, as you said just now about the track and field, and you said that if we were to, and say, I think
you are the policy maker, you know, bro.
You need to change that and say
it's going to happen when.
Okay, and
yes.
So
yes.
definitely.
Yes. So sports tourism, I say festival tourism, for us in the creative industry, festival is an important segment of not just tourism, but by itself. Festival generates really huge spend. People come for festivals. We know the numbers are fantastic. Some studies have indicated that from between $1 every dollar you spend, you can get up to 9. I don't know if we're quite there now. We're probably more like 5 or 6, but even 5 would be fantastic. So festival tourism is clearly one of the areas. So we have invested heavily in World Creole Music Festival, in Carnival, and there are other opportunities for us to do smaller festivals around niche areas. So clearly, festival tourism is one of the areas. Our musicians and entertainers have their own activities here, and they attract people here. So on the private sector side, so I talk about government-sponsored festivals, but there are events organized by private operators here, both local operators, and in some instances a mix of local and foreign. So for them that is an important part of making the product better and more attractive. So festival tourism clearly, music and entertainment is another area. Our musicians, for ease of access, for ease of movement, it's easier for them to travel around and to get to the various destinations to perform and to do the things. We would like to see a greater level of awareness and taking opportunity in some of the other areas like film development. So we have done some work in the film sector. We had Pirates of the Caribbean here over 20 years ago. There's been some development in that area, but we've kind of stalled in that area. It's going to require some more work, and part of it has to do with building local capacity and attracting what we call offshore business to come and film in Dominica. So the film sector is another area in the creative economy that where we can see some growth, because Dominica lends itself for that, particularly as a major location for film looking at adventure and stuff like that. So the film sector, animation and gaming is another area where we can in fact attract more attention to the destination, both to develop and as well as to produce and to grow that sector. The fashion and design sector is relatively small. It's growing, but we'll see that grow. But our designers now requires opportunities for them to be able to get their raw material in and to export their products. So all of those areas are critical for us in terms of the creative economy. But for us to see the creative economy grow, though, Mr. Blackmore, we're going to need state and private sector support.
Right. But before you go there, I'm happy that you're making mention of the fashion and design aspect of it, because I believe it will open up new opportunities for young people. And it's amazing the type of talent, or the amazing talent, that some of our people have, and we're not aware of it.
No.
I can recall that when I first when I came back to the ministry, I met on national security. I met my secretary then, very competent, Nikki Graham.
Yes.
And she did my cutting for me and then herself. And then I was amazed by that. She told me she does design. I thought she was joking.
And she left her job to go full time into
right.
that.
and then it's amazing. So you have those people with that amazing talent.
Yeah.
And think of the exposure that the international airport can give to people with that kind of...
So we have Kalinago craft, for example.
Yes.
You know, I mean, that's on tap. There's a lot of potential in there for exports of products from the Kalinago territory. But we have a lot of people involved in doing not just garments, but also accessories, things like earrings and bags.
And there's this young lady selling bags up Goodwill. She normally partners with tourism.
Yes. Yeah.
It's an amazing product. Right? And so I'm believing, I'm saying to myself, sorry, that we are underestimating the kind of prospects.
But what is needed? What is needed though?
Yes.
Simultaneously with the development of the infrastructure, we need to see investment in those areas. Because these are what they call emerging sectors.
Yes.
All right. So here are some of the things we need. One is we need spaces for production. We need spaces for rehearsals, for practicing. So our artists can go and practice their craft. So our designers can in fact do the design work and do some of the initial work in terms of whether it be accessory or garment work and so on. So these are some of the areas that we need to see some more work. You know that in Mahuda we try to do a music center, and so we want to see things like that happen around the country.
Well, we develop. You and I work together, and we develop everything.
And we are still at it.
Yes, but just going back to the number of initiatives that we have seen, money is being put in for to assist people in small development, business development, and I mean you're doing your design and you're doing your fashion. It's amazing what you can do at your home.
Yes.
With the resources.
One of the things I think that we need in Dominica in terms of that sector is we need to see some higher level of training in terms of design work. Frankly, we haven't been able to focus enough attention in that area, invest in the capacity building in that area. So some of the designers get opportunities, but these are still limited opportunities. So we want to see some more of that training happening, particularly at tertiary level. We need to see some of those things happening. I mean, I can tell you recently I helped to design and manage a training program for the OAS. We had 5 Dominican participants participating in the program, and they acquitted themselves very well, and stood up among the top designers in the region. So we want to see not just those 5, but we want to see others, so they can get opportunities to really enhance their craft and enhance their technique and ability to develop higher quality work.
Yeah, good stuff. And so in those areas that you have just mentioned, these are emerging areas.
Yes.
And then without this massive investment in this very important project, the international airport, it will be more difficult for those people in those sectors to emerge. And so the international airport, from what you're saying, provide.
Yes, it's an important tool.
Yes,
it's an important platform for us to be able to deliver our products and services, and of course to enable easier movement of people from outside of Dominica and from Dominica into the outside world. I mean, clearly it's going to create an opportunity for really easy access and movements of people both in and out of Dominica.
Well, remarkable.
Yes.
No. Okay. So we're now we're talking to Mr. Sobers Esprit.
Time flies.
And it's already 9:32, and we're ending at 9:45 thereabout tonight, and we're talking about this very important project and the new opportunities that will be created. And we need to be involved, therefore, in a national discuss and engagement. I use the word engagement because we have to actually take sometimes our own initiative, and especially the private sector, to seize on the opportunity and the possibilities that are there. And amidst all that talking among some people, in the main, the Dominican public wants that very important project. And I think the emphasis, therefore, has to be placed on how do we prepare, how do we position ourselves,
Right.
and to create an issue ourselves, and to be part of this global stage of excellence. And so we have looked at the film and development, fashion and design, festival and events, and music and entertainment. What are some of the other areas? I mean, in light of that new economy that you see emerging.
Well, as I said, from energy,
Right.
the energy sector is key. All countries in the world, because we want to see a world that is carbon neutral, that is less anti-fossil fuel, because there is a major move now to reduce our dependency, global dependency on fossil fuel. All right, so that's going to take some time, because particularly as countries start to explore and extract oil, they're going to say, hey, no. Let's wait a little bit. Like Guyana is saying, no, we can wait 30 or 40 years. But even Guyana is saying, okay, even if we have oil, but we want to go into renewables. So the energy sector is going to be a key area. So we have geothermal, and there are other opportunities, because we have the possibilities for solar, for wind, and for hydro in Dominica. In fact, we have some hydro. So energy and energy self-sufficiency is going to be a key part of what we have to invest in going forward.
It's amazing that you're saying that, because if you're talking about we in October of 1973, when you had the world first major oil crisis as a result of the war between Israel and then the OPEC countries, by way of retaliation to the war, proclaimed an embargo.
Yes.
And then you had a declaration by a number of countries saying, of course, we're going to ensure that we take the appropriate steps that will prevent, to ensure that we mitigate against future embargoes, and to ensure that we are less reliant on fossil fuel.
Yeah.
But
and the thing is, for Dominica, that's even more critical,
right?
Because we know how vulnerable we are.
Yeah.
We have been hit by hurricanes almost every decade we have a major hurricane. So for us, we know the existential threat that exists for us in terms of climate change, what climate change has done for us. So we have to play a big part, although we are not major. We don't let off all the emissions like the bigger countries. But the fact is, there are things that we can do. We can play our part, not just. We have been very important actors on the global stage. We are the signatories to the Paris Convention, and we have participated in all of the COPs since the Paris Convention. But there are things that we can do as a country, and things that we can collaborate with other partners to do. So getting climate financing for development, for local development, is another thing that we can look at to create new opportunities for our people. And Prime Minister Mia Mottley Barbados have been championing that area, and so there are opportunities there. So what can we do? In fact, one, accelerate the pace to get climate financing, and two, the areas that we want to invest those monies in. It's not just walls and so, but there are things that we can do to create more opportunities for our people, so that we can be much more resilient going forward. But
looking at that, though, then you may have a situation whereby you have certain investors that would prefer to be part of that kind of exercise where you're getting clean energy.
Yes.
And so
finance that is low rate of interest, like 2% interest rate and so on.
Right. So it makes the investment even more bankable. Well.
Yeah.
The proposed investment.
Yeah. So they have the green climate fund. That provide low interest credits and so things like that we have to go after to bring investment, both local and foreign investors, to look at new opportunities. But I didn't talk about. I haven't spoken
but
at all about technology.
No, we are not just making an assumption, because if everything goes well, by April of this year, we are going to have a energy mix of around 70% plus, with hydro and geothermal. I mean, that's absolutely remarkable. A small island state. So you see how we're proceeding.
And that has to be the trajectory that we should be.
Yeah. Okay, so that's April of this year.
Yeah. Well, we want to get to 90%.
90%, 100%.
Yes. Well, if we can get 100%.
Because with the potential that we have in the valley.
Yes.
And with the hydro, etc. And I think it ties in nicely with the international airport and some of the possibilities that are there to be had, or to be to maximize. So the other area is technology, and we know where the world is going in that. It's AI, it's artificial intelligence, to make industry, to make life supposedly easier, more efficient, and we know that there are challenges in that. And I think the way we can beat that is by investing in our young people, more in the technology field. We have to accelerate the pace of digital education across demographic. So young and old must become much more digitally literate. So you can't say because you're 60 or you're 70 years that you don't know how to use a computer or use the technology. In today's world, you have to retool, you have to have knowledge. But beyond that, we have to invest more in technology and develop a technology smart society. You know, so just like we're talking about climate smart, we have to about technology smart initiatives. You know, increasing our reach in terms of technology across the country, so that give people more access, more and more, so that we can utilize them for our own advantage. So that is another area. There are huge opportunities. We have excellent relations with the People's Republic of China. They are a global partner. Probably they're the second largest economy in the world. They are champion in terms of technology. And I think, so we have to look at the ways to create partnerships in those areas. You know, so I think there are lots of things there are great possibilities for us. We have to be smart. We have to be able to negotiate well. You know, we have to be sensitive to what our needs are as well, because we are a small country, and so we have to look out for our own interests. Now everybody talking about, you know, their own self-interest more and more. So we have to look at that, whilst at the same time, as a Caribbean region, it's important for us to look at Caribbean partnership, Caribbean solidarity in whatever we do moving forward. Yes. Remarkable. Sobers, I mean, I know we're getting there just now. Yes. I mean, some of the issues that we're talking about here tonight in light of the International Airport project in itself. Now, what would you like to say to Dominican in light of the project, in terms of the mindset that you believe that we ought to have as we proceed towards the completion of school?
Yeah. Well, I think, so in a lot of instances, when a country embarks on major capital projects like that, whether it's an airport or a dam or a major highway or whatever it is, there are always going to be skepticism. There's going to be pushback by some segment of the population. And I think that is okay, because that's what the democracy is all about. I think what has to happen, though, is that there has to be ongoing education, as you rightly pointed out. So we need to design, education programs. We have platforms in which we can do that, so that we can show people the real opportunities that exist, the real benefits that can be derived from having such a major project coming to the country. Yeah, I would say to the people that, hey, this is an important phase of our development, and it's an important requirement for the kind of development that we want now and into the 21st century. We are into the 21st century, and we cannot stay back. We cannot remain in the 20th century. Dominica has to advance. Dominica has to move forward. And I think with time, people will buy into it. People will look at where the opportunities are, and they will do what is necessary to be done to move the country forward. But I think there has to be a sense of inclusiveness in all of these things, of dialogue, of education. And what we're doing tonight is just part of it. I think we can do much more. So I think the media should be much more engaged. I think public communication should design more programs to really demonstrate and to show the real benefits to be accrued from having such a major investment in the country. And just to say that international airport is not just about tourism alone. Tourism is just one thing, while tourism will be the major beneficiary, but other segments, other aspects of the society and the economy will benefit from having such an important improvement and an important project in the country.
Yes, certainly. And so I believe you're bang on target. And one of the things I would say, maybe it's difficult to, maybe for someone sitting at his or home or listening to this program tonight or driving, and say, okay, it's Blackmoore, a politician, he belongs to the government. I believe at some point, in our national existence, as a people, we ought to be able to put aside politics and look at the transcending national interests. And I believe the International Airport is one of those projects that should have
bring people closer together.
Because of the
significance.
The significance of it, and it's going to.
This is not. It shouldn't be seen as a Labour Party or this party project, because every government, every party that has been in government since the 1960s have been talking about an international airport. Sometimes we never agree with governments in terms of how they approach and do certain things. But in the analysis, what is important is the greater good. Is the airport going to be better for Dominica or not? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. But I think generally Dominicans, believe that this is an important project for the country. Yes. I have no illusions about that, frankly. Yes.
And having you there and speaking the way you are.
I have no illusions about that.
And I know you always, when I was a parrot then, you and I were close together.
Yes.
And you always, you were yearning for that project.
Yeah.
And you always felt that the government who does that, would have achieved something.
I worked in tourism for 15 years, so I know the frustration that you go to a trade show or you go to an event and people say, "But I want to come to Dominica, but this too stuff." So whatever.
And the number of times you had to buy clothes when you travel that you were not able to get your bag.
Yeah.
Because of the access problem.
That's right.
And not only coming in, but even leaving to go to a function or to go to a meeting overseas. And so there are personal issues, and there are business issues.
Personal stories that all of us can tell.
Yeah,
Yes.
And it's like misery. You have suffered because of not having this very important piece of infrastructure.
So I think two things. One is people have to recognize the importance of critical development that is needed for the country. All right, investments and so on. And two, the direction in which we want to take the economy and opportunities for the future. So I think these two things juxtaposed together, we will understand more clearly what it is that is needed. So yes, there are some really important things, and there are lots of things that we still require, and we could spend another night on to talk about some of those things. You see, I started to talk about some of the impediments, some of the challenges for the ecosystem to strengthen the cultural economy. And so on, but at least let us move forward with these things. Let's have a vision of what the future should be, and embrace it and work on it together.
Yes. Okay.
Merci.
Your final comments, Sobi, because we have to run. And I'm going to, before I leave, I'm going to play some music. Good night, good evening to Steinberg.
You play some reggae?
Yeah.
Calypso. Reggae Calypso. What do you play?
Monday night.
Monday is Calypso, but tonight is...
We're in the Lent season, so
you go lighter.
I don't dare do that.
You go lighter.
Because my wife will ask me questions about that. So after Lent.
But my final thing is clearly, I think... We need to really look at all the opportunities that the country really we're focusing on at this time. I think it's important for us to do that as a society, as a country. Yes, we're going to have differences in terms of approach, in terms of delivery mode. There's going to be that. You see it all over the world, you know. But I think we should come together and look at how we can, in fact, you know, work together to minimize those differences in the end. I think clearly there is a lot of buzz around Dominica now, particularly in terms of our tourism development. There's been a new energy, a new burst of energy around Dominica's tourism, and so there's a lot of talk about Dominica. Our music is going places that, you know, we're seeing more and more. It has lifted us up, because there was a time there was a lull. So we're seeing bouillon music. It's getting Dominica back on the music map. There's some work that has to be done. Your ministry, I know, is involved in doing some education. I am speaking to Miss Nesty. I know she's going to be doing some education on that. So I think this is time for us to seize the moment and do what we can individually, collectively, and of course as a country.
I like the way you crystallize everything towards the end.
Yeah.
And I want to concur with you on that. And having said that, have a wonderful night.
Thank you, bro.
We'll see again.
Yes.
And I'll just, for the next couple of minutes, play and just listen to Peter Tosh. I mean, who used to play for Tosh or Bob Marley? Jimmy Cliff, all those guys there.
I think everybody liked Bob Marley.
Yeah.
Brother Bob.
Initially,
but Dennis Brown was originally one of the guys I really love.
I used to be a Jimmy Cliff guy, and then then Bob Marley.
Jimmy Cliff.
I still like Jimmy Cliff.
But the band, the reggae band I like is Football.
Yeah, Football. Yes,
Football.
So sadly, the leading guitarist and the band leader just passed a couple months ago. Yes.
Several of the guys have gone to the great beyond.
Yes.
But life is a cycle.
Yeah.
And that is going to happen.
And then with the international airport will cause us, of course, to see them bigger artists even easier.
Yeah. We are seeing the bigger artists coming one by one. You know, we have a good festival. We have a good festival product.
Okay.
Yes.
Have a nice night. God bless you, Sobi.
Thank you, bro.
And have a nice night.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Bye. We
were talking to Mr. Sobers Esprit, when, as of course, we all, I really like the way he actually ended tonight, calling for all hands on deck, basically, and to seize the moment. And it's our thing, the international airport, not one person's thing or one party thing, our thing. And if it is our thing, we should not allow anyone who is trying to break it. You understand? So let's seize the moment, as you rightly said, and move forward together as we embrace this very historic and important project that will transform this economy and our way of life. Have a nice night, Sobi. God bless you. One love.
Thank you.
Okay, fine, cool.
charge, I think ganja, which I know couldn't do. How could one man ganja? Must be an ape from the zoo.